Hello. I am sick again. You may have thought I would stay healthy this far away from winter, but no, I have two small children going to different daycares. I'm going to catch all the illnesses. So my nose is stuffy, my throat is sore. I am not in any position to be reviewing stuff. So today's going to be a little different. I've just got myself a hot toddy here that I made from Gelenic apricot and Berlioz, and a little bit of lemon. I think it's like I did like 2 parts, 1 part, 1 part lemon, and a little bit of honey top with hot water. It's not bad actually. Could use more Berlioz. So I thought I would use this opportunity to talk about why we're doing this. Why buy weird stuff? Why drink weird stuff? Why not just stick to the things that YouTube here is constantly reviewing? The big scotches, the big whiskeys, the big Irish things. Rum is starting to track pretty hard. Why not just drink those? I think the obvious answer is just from the value side of things. Like, these things they're starting, the prices are creeping up. Like, I'm beginning to see signs that maybe the market is starting to reject some of the really, really aggressive pricing, particularly in Scotch. But so at the moment, like, things are still crazy. So, there is that economic case of, well, if you can get, an unaged rum or a brandy or something made from agave that's at the same level and less expensive, or better and less expensive, why not just buy that? But I don't think the economic case is necessarily the only one for drinking things that are just a little bit different. You see, because my sense is that if you really wanted to just be nailing the QPR bullseye all the time, what you would want to buy is unaged Jamaican rum, like unaged, overproof Jamaican rum. You would just drink that all the time because nothing is hitting the same QPR that those things are right now. The problem is, eventually you get bored of them. I mean, I love those things. Like, I don't want to drink nothing but them. Nothing but Ray and Nephew and Rumfire and, Rum Bar for the rest of my life. I don't, but I still love them. Even if, magically, things shifted so that I could have a button that delivers me a bottle of, 1973 Brora anytime I wanted, I would be enjoying a lot of 1973 Brora, but eventually, like, it just wouldn't be doing it for me anymore. And I might seriously consider just drinking something worse for the change. And I think that's kind of the big reason why you should consider looking into stuff like this humble apricot brandy. Because it should change. To give you some sense of what I mean. Years ago, when I was still working and teaching, I had a little bit of a light bulb moment watching a video by Mike Toucher, who is a coach, powerlifting coach. And he was pointing out some methodological problems that he saw on his end in sports science when they were testing the effectiveness of various kinds of training methodologies. And he said, okay, well, how do you set up an experiment like the ones that you want to test a new way of training, right? How do you test that? Well, you get a total set of subjects, and you want people who've been training basically the same way, right? You want to keep that as a consistent, and then you split them up. You have your control group who basically keep doing the same kind of training, right? And then you have your intervention group where you give them this new style of training you come up with, which you think will do better. And you give them a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, to both groups to do whatever kind of training they're doing. And lo and behold, at the end of it, the intervention group with the new training has done better. And you throw up your hands and say yay, and you publish it, you've shown that your training is the better training than whatever the standard one was. And you get to write that in your CV. Good job. The problem Toucher points out is, well, maybe it wasn't something particularly special about the contents of the new style of training you gave them. Maybe it was just the fact that it was new. That, in other words, that they had been doing this one particular training for a long time and kind of juiced everything they can out of it. And then you gave them this new thing, which maybe it wasn't particularly, better or whatever. It just happened to be that the sheer novelty of it was enough to give them more of a bump than the people who just kept doing the same thing. And this kind of led him to emphasize the importance of like change and controlling change in training. You have someone who's been training the same way for a while. You need to switch things up, otherwise they're just not going to develop anymore. To the point where this was a different video. He points out if someone has been training in a way that's been well designed, well balanced, good frequency, good volume, good weights, all that stuff for years and years and years, there might actually be reason to deliberately give them badly written training, like a 7-day body part bro split or something. It's just the worst kind of bodybuilding regimen you could imagine, just to resensitize them to, good training methods again. And this was like a huge, light bulb moment for me as a teacher at the time. Because if you're in education, every couple of months, there's always some hot new teaching method coming out. There's always some weird new trick that is supposed to get the students learning better, get them more engaged, all this stuff. And the thing is, some of them are even backed up with experimentation. Experimentation. And the thing is, all of these new tricks, they work. They all work just fine. It's that you always need a new one every couple of months. So again, the question is maybe it's wrong to look for a better training system or a better way of teaching. Maybe what you need to be looking for is a way to change things in a way that makes sense and is productive. I mean, put this another way: something about us seems hardwired to look for optimization, to look for setting things up in the best possible way, and then just keeping that in perpetuity forever. We love that. It's what Kalman would refer to as a transcendental illusion. We love this idea that we just need to set up our lives in the right way, our schedule in the right way, and then we can just keep going with that and not have to worry about it anymore. But it is kind of an illusion. Like you can optimize a toaster because toasters are predictable in terms of they always react to the same inputs in basically the same way. Human beings are adaptive creatures. We change how we react to inputs over time. And to go back to coaching and stuff for a second, you tend to find that coaches who are just starting out or not very good are really obsessed with the idea of optimizing a training regimen, just like setting things up in the most perfect possible way. Whereas you look at the really good coaches who've been doing it for a while, they can seem almost like sloppy in terms of how they're setting things up. Oh, you want to do lunges? Okay, that's I'm sure that's fine. We'll throw that in there somewhere. But they're also constantly thinking about what the athlete is doing now and how they're reacting to what they're doing now is going to set them up for what they're going to be doing months or years from now, a couple of training blocks down the line. And I don't know, it's something you don't really get a lot of that in education, I will say. There are lots of good teachers. There's not really. So if you go to long footnote, if you are trained to be an educator, you will learn a lot about class design, how to design a great class, an optimized class. You will also pick up a little bit of developmental psychology to the extent that some of that remains standing. You will be lucky to hear maybe a half an hour or so discussion of program design, the way that all those great classes are supposed to work together over the course of years to produce a result. I don't think there's really a whole lot of thought about that beyond like what prerequisites and things. I mean, just to give you some idea of what I've heard from my friends, if you want to know what program design in higher education looks like, because that's what I know at least, I will tell you what it looks like. When time comes for reaccreditation or whatever, all the relevant junior faculty who can be suckered into doing the work are all rounded up and put into a room and given a set of demands by the politically powerful of the department. They're given some feedback from the students, what little they could kind of rustle out. And then they go to the websites of the departments that are biggest in the field. They go to the Princeton website for whatever the program is. The NYU website, Stanford website, MIT, whatever. And they basically copy their program down. And they put it on a whiteboard, on a spreadsheet, something like that. And they kind of, keeping in mind those demands and suggestions from earlier, they kind of mix and match the things they like. That's what program design looks like. It's more about like looking like what the leaders of the field look like than about actually giving deep thought to how to develop a human being over the course of several years. Anyhow, back to the subject of booze. I got a long footnote. I apologize. So there's some need to think less about optimization and chasing down the best QPR and stuff like that. Think about how to use change effectively and how to maybe sequence those periods of stabilization, of learning, along with the change in a healthy and productive way. If you have been drinking a lot of really peaty whiskey or really high ester rum and it's starting to just not have the same effect anymore, because after a certain point, you're just, the same stress or the same stimulus isn't going to do the same thing, right? Move on to something else. Just move on to something else. Give it a break. Try some cane juice rum. Try some shochu, maybe. Hit up mezcal for a while. And you will be shocked when you come back to your peaty whiskey or high ester rum or whatever it is, to find that not everything that you got that first time is back, but a lot of it is. A lot of it will be. And you can also just not even be thinking about change in the meantime. Think about, what do you want to be trying 6 months from now, a year from now? What do you want to kind of set your palate up for trying? Not just the most exciting and flashy bottle, just a style you've never dug into before. What do you want to try that you haven't tasted yet? Anyways, that's how I'm going to justify a lot of the stuff I'm doing on this channel. You'll notice I'm just kind of mixing and matching things a lot of the time because I'm a veteran and I'm going to give myself that right. I mean, I personally started out by just hammering hard on Scotch malts for years, learning as well as I could. And then I gave them up and I switched to wine for a while. and then I switched to a whole bunch of other things. But there were those periods of stability where I was hanging on to stuff pretty hard, but followed by periods of change in my own tasting history. And I'd like to think that was productive. Anyhow, a little bit of a weirder video today. Hope some of this was food for thought or something. Thanks for watching. Hopefully, I will be up for reviews a couple of days from now. And cheers.